Over the last 5 weeks of Lent, we've been talking about the sacraments. And we wanted to show, these sacraments, these outward signs instituted by Christ that give us grace. And we've been through all the sacraments, so we come to the last one. And it's often named as the last one because it often occurs as one of the last things. Now, it used to be called extreme unction or last rites, which is why oftentimes when we would go in the hospital to visit someone, they'd get very scared. Because we're not just coming to visit, they called the priest, it must be the end. But we call it anointing of the sick. And although anointing of the sick can be a part of the last rites proper, we use anointing of the sick at many other times. Now, we might ask the question, what does anointing of the sick have anything to do with the passion of Christ? I think the two work hand in hand very nicely. As we look through the ministry of Christ before he gets to Jerusalem, in his miracles of healing, he always forgives their sins first. And then there's a physical healing that's involved. As Jesus went from town to town, his primary concern didn't seem to be necessarily about healing ailments. We know this at one point because Peter's chasing after him and says, "Where have you been? We've been looking for you. There's a bunch of people here who want healing." And he said, it's time to move on to the next town. That his role was spreading the good news. And the good news is that, as he says about Lazarus, this is not to end in death, but for the glorification of God. And so it's appropriate because Jesus here is entering the last week of his life. He's going to the Father very soon. And he's going to offer the ultimate sacrifice for each of us. Not many people have seen the anointing of the sick, or maybe even received the anointing of the sick. But the outward sign that is offered, the priest will extend hands, lay hands on the person, and bless them. And then anoint the palms of the hands with oil. Oil is a rich symbol from the ancient world. They used oil for healing of many kinds, which is why we're confirmed with oil. It's why we receive that anointing of the oil of catechumens at our baptism. And the prayer of faith, as the words say, will make the person well. Sometimes we think, where's the miracle? We experience an immediate change. And although at times there are physical miracles, the stress is not on the physical miracle. The stress is the same stress that Jesus gave his miracles during his lifetime. And in fact, the formulary for the rite says, forgive them their sins. The reason why a priest is the only one who can give the anointing of the sick is because it includes within it reconciliation to prepare the person for whatever comes down. So we're asking the Lord to heal them first spiritually and emotionally. And then, yes, sometimes a physical healing will follow. I was on a retreat this week with 31 high school kids. Most of them were seniors, called Kairos. Kairos in Greek means moment. So they have Chronos, which means time, and then they have Kairos, which means one particular moment. And for many of these kids, this is a wonderful retreat. This was my 20th one that I've been on. And what came out over the week is many of these kids suffered from ailments. One of them was in a very bad car accident, and it's affected his speech and his thinking as a result of that. He was in a coma for 3 weeks. Another boy has already suffered from cancer before he was the age of 18. Various others had psychological disorders that they struggled with every single day. And so for the first time, I've never done this before on a retreat, but I thought for the first time, I'm going to offer to this student who was in this car accident, I'm going to offer him anointing of the sick. And he accepted it. I think part of the reason he accepted it is he has had a major conversion as a result of that accident. So he's not insecure, he's not worried what people think anymore, that he accepted this. And another kid who was suffering from a psychological malady, I offered it to him too. And so it was the last day of the retreat, and I said to the one gentleman, okay, we're going to anoint you now. I said to the other one, come on up. And he said, I'm so sorry, Father, I don't feel comfortable at all with this. Can we do it in private somewhere else? And I allowed that. But before I anointed Daniel, I said, is there anyone else here who has suffered from some kind of physical or mental or emotional illness that you'd like to receive this sacrament today? And about 10 students came forward. And then the one who was scared joined them. That these students had never really experienced this sacrament ever before. They had never seen it before. And yet it had gone to a point where they realized, I've tried all the doctors and therapists and surgeons I can try. There's only one thing that I have not. And they received the anointing of the sick. And all their classmates were on their knees praying for them. What high school have you ever seen? What seniors have you ever seen that go to their knees for their classmates that they're not necessarily close to, that they're not in their group or their clique? And they came to realize in a very special way, in fact, 2 of them came forward and said, this was the high point of the whole retreat. They came to understand that it is only God who can do this. And they came to understand the sacrament is not something we have to subject ourselves to. The sacrament is not some kind of obligation that we have to make. It's something that God left us so that once he was gone, he would still be able to perform those miracles through a person. Today, in a very special way, Jesus walks full forward into death. He spends the last weeks of his life. This is called Passion Sunday as well as Palm Sunday. And he does this so like as he did while he was here among us. He can heal our souls so that through that physical healing, emotional healing can follow. But in a greater way by his sacrifice that he makes for us on the cross. He not only heals our souls, but he offers us salvation. It's a gift that we cannot earn, and a gift we do not have to earn. It's simply one that we need to fall down on our knees and to accept.